Think of your favorite regular car brand. So not Lamborghini, not Koenigsegg, a regular car company that makes regular everyday vehicles. Think of a brand that really excites you, but they also make sedans, SUVs, trucks, etc. They might make some coupes, might even make a supercar, but the requirement for this car company is that they make regular everyday vehicles. Whether it's Mercedes, Audi, Ford, BMW, Jaguar, Porsche, Chevy, or Nissan, whoever it may be, it seems like every car company makes a vehicle that makes absolutely no fucking sense.
I am TJ Hunt, and you're watching Instagram.
For example, Mercedes used to sell an A-Class sedan here in the United States, and it felt super redundant. Like, there's probably a reason that they don't sell it anymore. Like, imagine a 2 Series with 4 doors and no legroom in the rear. That's a Mercedes A-Class. The A-Class sedan was actually a pretty good looking car, don't get me wrong. Like, I would even go on a limb and say that it looks better than the Mercedes CLA and better than the Audi RS3. However, it's not without its flaws. Why would they bring this to market if the CLA already exists and serves a similar purpose? You don't even have to be tall to feel cramped in the rear seats, and if you are tall, you're gonna feel cramped even in the front seats. It is pretty fuel efficient, which is a big pro, but it's hardly a Mercedes, or at least the idea of a Mercedes that people usually have in their heads. In reality, it's just the Mercedes A-Class hatchback from Europe, but slightly more inconvenient. Don't get me wrong, the right person will appreciate the A-Class hatch, but the A-Class sedan makes almost no sense considering that the CLA was sold at the same time. The interior isn't really all that nice either, and you might be looking at photos like this on Google Images, but if you've ever been in an A-Class or a CLA, you immediately begin to notice all the black plastic, fake leather, fake aluminum, and other things you might be okay with if you had bought a Toyota or a Volkswagen. I don't know why they made this car, and I think Mercedes execs are on the same page because they still sell the CLA, but they don't sell the A-Class. If you want my honest opinion, I think the Mercedes A-Class was a loss leader. It was the cheapest Mercedes you could buy, and while it might not be everything that a Mercedes enthusiast would expect from a Mercedes, it got a new owner's foot in the door. It attracted people who didn't want to spend Mercedes money, but liked whatever idea they had in their head of owning a Mercedes-Benz. It's especially annoying knowing that this existed, but we still didn't get the Mercedes A45 AMG variant that they still sell in Europe. It has a hand-built AMG 4-cylinder that you could be pushing 500 horsepower out of with a tune, but that would just be too damn cool for the US market, right? We could have had an M2 and RS3 competitor from Mercedes, but no. And it's crazy because the BMW 2 Series saw a much more positive reception in the States, mostly because it was originally only sold as a coupe and didn't appeal as much to the people who were buying it just to satisfy their idea of BMW ownership. And since the 2 Series was pretty much the same size as the old BMW E46, BMW enthusiasts loved it. They loved it so much that they were able to sell an M2 CS version at a higher price than the M3 competition X-Drive with no option. It was perfect for drivers who wanted a smaller wheelbase for better handling characteristics, something more similar to the E46 but with modern tech, better reliability, and of course more horsepower. With its sporty driving characteristics and the ability to now own one with a full-fledged M motor, the 2 Series appealed to more than just an audience that wanted to own a BMW but not spend a lot of money. The 2 Series Coupe is not the car in question. The 2 Series Convertible is not even the car in question. I'm talking about a vehicle you may not even know exists, but now you're about to wonder why it exists. I'm talking about the BMW 2 Series Grand Coupe. Now, normally BMW coupes, with an exception to the Z4, are essentially the sedan chassis with 2 less doors. In fact, the coupes are usually only a couple inches shorter than the sedan variants, and this holds true from the E9X generation of 3 Series, the F3X and F8X generation of 3 Series and 4 Series, the G Series cars, and more. But the Grand Coupes, oh man, the Grand Coupes. The Grand Coupes are usually a more visually appealing version of the sedan. They're 4-door coupes, so sedans, if you will, but they're wider, longer, lower, and sexier than the sedans, except for the 2 Series Grand Coupe. The 2 Series Grand Coupe is an abomination. For perspective, the F10 5 Series looked like a mom car compared to the 6 Series Grand Coupe. If they made an M version of the 4 Series Grand Coupe, the M4 Grand Coupe would have been a better version of the M3 with a wider stance, a lower, more aerodynamic roofline, and a lower center of gravity, resulting in an objectively better performer, assuming the modifications to the chassis that they did to make the Grand Coupe didn't affect structural rigidity. But the 2 Series Grand Coupe, similar to the A-Class sedan, is literally a 1 Series hatch with the back cut off, therefore making it less practical. And the really shitty part about it is that it looks worse in the hatch, it looks worse in the coupe, and it has the proportions of a Ford Fusion, which makes sense since it's also front wheel drive. Who the f wants a front wheel drive BMW? Oh yeah, the people who don't care, aka the people who are just trying to get the cheapest car possible with the BMW badge. That's the only reason I can think of as to why anybody would want to own this vehicle, because like the A-Class and CLA, there's no space in the back for it to actually function as a sedan. It loses the practicality of a 1 Series hatchback. It's front wheel drive and it's kind of ugly, so the nostalgic E46 guys aren't going to want it. The people shopping for a car with 4 seats and 4 doors in the $30,000 price range are likely going to find that a Camry or an Altima makes way more sense, and the BMW enthusiasts who want a cheap BMW you are just gonna go buy an F33 series, possibly even with a B58 after the first owner already took all the depreciation, and that's honestly probably a better purchase than the 2 Series Grand Coupe. If anyone in the comments can actually come up with a good reason as to why this vehicle exists, please make it known. I'm genuinely curious. To be honest though, I think disguising the 1 Series as the 2 Series Grand Coupe in America instead of just selling the 1 Series hatch that it's based on was the only way they could have justified bringing that chassis to market in America, because for some reason Americans are just allergic to hatchbacks. The Volkswagen Golf has a cult following, but outside of that, we haven't really seen any hatchbacks in the past 20 years that become successful enough in America to justify its place in the market for the long term, besides maybe the Corolla or the Civic. But even still, I don't remember the last time I saw a Corolla hatch that isn't a GR Corolla and it's owned by some niche car guy, and he's like the only guy for 100 miles that gives a fuck that the GR Corolla actually exists. SUV coupes only exist for a similar reason that the A-Class sedan and the 2 Series Grand Coupe do. Not only do we hate hatchbacks over here, but Americans cannot wrap their heads around the idea of owning a wagon. Wagons have never really caught on in the US for a few reasons. For some reason, Americans tend to favor SUVs, which offer more ground clearance, but it's not like the average owner will ever actually make use of it. Wagons, while practical, don't have that same bigger is better appeal, which is just stupid. Wagons are basically sedans, which results in giving you a lot of the pros of a sedan, such as lower center of gravity, better aerodynamics, and less weight for more efficiency and performance. You get better visibility for parking and a smaller footprint than an SUV for navigating tight spaces. But you also get a lot of the pros of owning an SUV. Some modern wagons do offer more ground clearance in their sedan variants, but you also get more headspace, more cargo space, folding rear seats for even more cargo space. While SUVs are safer if you do get in an accident, drivers that actually pay the fuck attention while driving would actually better benefit from a wagon, since they offer more visibility, maneuverability, better acceleration, and shorter braking distances to help you avoid ending up in an accident in the first place. But Americans seem to associate the idea of owning a wagon with something like this instead of something like this. And in reality, if wagons were more trendy in America, the average wagon owner would probably own something more like this or like this. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't think those are terrible looking vehicles at all. My mom owns a Jeep Grand Cherokee and it's starting to get up there in miles. She's not really that big of a fan of owning cars outside of warranty. She doesn't really like dealing with mechanics and stuff like that. So she's been entertaining the idea of considering buying a new car. Sometimes she's just pondering the idea and looking at online listings and stuff like that. And sometimes she is at the dealership almost ready to sign papers. One day I lightly suggested the idea of possibly buying a wagon. And she's like, ugh. I'm like, what? She's like, ugh, why would I want a wagon? It would just make too much sense. And what really gets me about this whole bigger is better mindset and how Americans will try and rationalize SUVs in the name of practicality is how we'll then go and buy SUV coupes but not wagons. Like, no way we're buying X4s which look like a Prius on a lift kit, or better yet, we're buying X6s which look like a Prius Pro Max, or quite possibly the worst offender of them all, the GLE coupe, the lifted egg. Like, are we being serious right now? Then this whole practicality argument goes out the window when you realize something like an X6 has less head clearance in the back, making it feel more cramped, and it only has 580 liters of cargo space, which doesn't sound bad to be honest, but it does sound a little embarrassing when you consider that the 5 Series Touring, that's the wagon by the way, only has 10 liters less storage. So let's get this straight. Owning a 5 Series Touring would only sacrifice 10 liters of cargo space that you're not gonna miss anyways because you already bought the coupe variant of the X5 which has 650 liters of storage, but you gain all the advantages of owning a sedan instead with the SUV storage. That's how you know we live in a first world country, when people can just spend more money to get the SUV over the wagon or the sedan and then spend even more money to get the less practical, worse looking version of said SUV. All I'm asking is for you to just buy a fucking wagon next time. If y'all like the video, please drop a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn the notification bell on so you can know when I drop another video like this. I don't smoke, I never have, but thinking about the Mercedes A-Class and SUV coupes for this long makes me want a fucking cigarette.